So I'm going to do this entire vlog MySpace style because I can. I spent this past weekend and first half of this week in Florida visiting my family while we were on spring break. Or while I was on spring break because they weren't, because I'm in school and who cares if they are. Ooh, look at me. And so I flew back down here, or flew back up here to Georgia on Tuesday, and I'm sitting there in the terminal of the airport in Melbourne, Florida, not Melbourne, Australia. And I happened to look up from the book that I was reading, and I see this huge line of mothers with strollers waiting to be checked in. My heart instantly sank to my feet, because mothers with strollers means only one thing: they're babies. And because of the overabundance of mothers with strollers, I counted them out, and there were 11 babies. These were going to be 11 babies that were going to be on my, excuse me, a minor burpage there, 11 babies that were going to be on my plane ride to Atlanta. Think about that. And that's just babies. There were plenty of other toddlers running around the airport causing chaos and wreaking havoc. All of which would be on my plane. And yes, it was as bad as you think it would be. Once we reached cruising altitude, there were mothers walking up and down the aisle trying to burp their children. And I was sitting on the aisle, had an aisle seat, which I normally am all for because it gives me room to stretch out my legs. Because being over 6 feet, there's not much room for my legs in those little tiny cramped spaces. So I was sitting on the aisle seat and mothers were walking up and down patting their babies on the back, and the only thing I could think of was, gosh, I could have some baby burp mess come flying out of the air and land on me. And of course I'm thinking this, and the mothers are walking up and down while some other baby on the plane is crying. And I don't really have anything against babies. I'm actually all for babies because they kind of continue the human population. I was a baby once. And but I think parents would eventually learn that when you're going to bring your young infant onto a plane, you should drug it. You know, just pour some Benadryl down his throat or something. I'm not saying like inject needle with morphine into him, but you know, there's a little something to shut him up. I'm all for it. Oh, y'all got it. Sitting across from me, across the aisle, because I was on the aisle seat, tempted to get out my umbrella to shield me from the baby burp mess. There was his dad and his like 4-year-old daughter. And so he made up a game to try and amuse her with these Sesame Street cards. And he didn't read the directions to it, because he's a man. Men don't need directions. That's how we are, ladies. And so he made up this game to play his daughter in. And so basically all it accounted to was flipping over the cards. And that's basically what it was, is just turn over the cards. It's not like a memory game, but he just had like the deck, and then just flip one over. Moronic. And he get this little point system about how they would win or not win. And he was losing at his own game. And it wasn't one of those, well, I'm just losing to make my stupid young child feel good and feel like, oh, they beat Big Bad Daddy. Wasn't that. He was just didn't know how to do it. I feel bad for him. That a man was reduced, that any human being was reduced to that lowest form of entertainment. That pretty much concluded my plane ride. Watching Dad get spanked in his own game, and mothers walking up and down the aisle with children that need to let a little bit out. Just preferably not on me.